Hey everyone, Jason Weckerle here, and this video is going to be about nighttime bass fishing, and I want to show you my absolute favorite baits and how I modify some of them for nighttime fishing, because bass can tend to miss a bait a lot when they strike it, whether it's a topwater lure or a spinnerbait, any type of lure. So there's little modifications that help you land a few more fish, hook up with a few more fish. But I'm going to show you all my favorite baits for casting, I'd say about 1 to 10 feet of water. Because during the summertime, you could be in 10 feet of water and the weeds could be 5 feet high. So you got about 5 feet of water between the tops of those weeds and the surface. So I cast anywhere from 1 to 10 feet of water normally at night, and there's plenty of bass cruising the shallows at night. During the day, they might slip off the drop-offs into deeper water or hide themselves under docks, but at night, they cruise around, they eat, especially in crystal clear lakes. Sometimes night fishing is a lot better than the daytime fishing, but I love night fishing in general, and I'm always getting out at night. I'm always fishing the moon phases, moonrise, moonset. I do very well for myself when it comes to bass fishing, but I like flipping docks during the day or throwing crankbaits and stuff too, or Ned rigs and wacky worms. But there's something about night fishing, the peace, the quiet. You can hear the frogs croaking, the birds chirping, the stars are in the sky. I mean, it's just a different environment. And if you fish around bridges that have lights, boat launches that have lights, anything that has light, there could be bass hiding in those areas, because light at night attracts bait fish. But I've caught bass even over sunken islands in the middle of the night in the pitch black. And surprisingly, my favorite color for nighttime is black, and I'll explain all that in a second, so enjoy the video. These are some of my favorite nighttime fishing lures for bass. Most of them are very old school. Some of them have been out for up to 70, 80 years of time, and they're just oldies but goodies. Like the floating Rapala, the Jitterbug, the old school spinnerbait. But I like to use black at night because black silhouettes against the sky, the stars, the light sources that are around bridges and boat docks, stuff like that, street lights, moonlight, and the bass really hone in on the color black at night because they can pick up on it a lot better sometimes than other colors, surprisingly. But I like throwing the Strike King Midnight Special. It's got this big Colorado blade. Willow leaf blades are good for like clear water during the day, but at night you want a Colorado blade that thumps and spins. They can feel the vibration from that blade kicking through the water. And this spinnerbait's kind of special because it's got rattles in it, so they can hear this thing coming through the water. You just reel that bait slowly and get that blade thumping, and that's a deadly lure at night. Probably my favorite topwater lure is the old school Jitterbug in black. This thing just goes across the surface of the water going bloop, 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 bloop. You just reel it slow and steady. The bass absolutely love this bait. And I'll show you how to modify this lure and this spinnerbait in a second here. Another bait I love to use are these whopper ploppers. I like the size 90 and the standard size that's larger. Not the largest size, but like I think it's the 130 size. I might be wrong. It's a step up from this. But those two sizes Again, it's a bait that you just reel slowly through the water. That tail turns, causing commotion and sound. The bass can pick up on it. And I like to use white, that color. The bluegill is fine. I mean, they'll hit pretty much anything. I even like this frog pattern at night. And when I'm fishing around a lot of light sources and stuff, I mean, these Rapalas, the floating Rapala at night is deadly, just reeled slowly or twitched around on the surface. You can even catch fish in the pitch black on these. You might even pick up some walleyes, pike. That is a classic deadly lure. You can use suspending husky jerk or X-wrap Rapalas at night, and catch fish also. But when I'm fishing shallow water, the original is hard to beat. And I tend to pack really light when I'm night fishing because you carry too much gear, it gets in the way in the boat. You can tend to lose stuff a lot easier at night, even fishing from shore. So just keep it simple, and these baits at night are gonna catch a lot of fish for you. But I'm gonna show you guys now some modifications that I make to some of these lures so that they work better, hook more fish, catch more fish. Before I show you guys some modifications to the lures like I was just mentioning, I wanted to show you some more noteworthy nighttime baits for bass. Some of these colors might not be black and might go against some of the stuff I just said, but when you're dealing with moonlight or you're dealing with like dock lights, street lights, bridge lights, sometimes white can be a real hot color, and that can really pick up some of that light around. Sometimes it can be better than black, but these are Rapala Husky Jerks, the 5-inch size, and I just colored that one black with a permanent marker. This is a shallow diving rattling crankbait. This is a Northland ripping rattle bait. I got a silver Bill Lewis rattle trap right here. A Rapala DT6 that I also colored with black permanent marker. But these baits right here are every bit as important as the black spinnerbait or the Jitterbug or any topwater lure. Sometimes you gotta get down to the fish and they're not gonna rise to the surface. But another good bait at night is a swim jig. You can use a Kitech skinny, like a Kitech Swain Impact, the skinny model, or you can use the fat model with a little bit bigger thumping tail on it. But now let me show you guys how I modify a couple of these lures to make them better for nighttime fishing. The first modification I'm going to teach you guys how to make to these lures is with this Jitterbug lure. These hooks, as you can see, this hook just keeps getting jammed all sorts of different ways, which will cost you a lot of fish when the fish is jumping around trying to throw the lure. And I hate these old 1940s hook holders they still put on this lure. As much as I love this lure, they could have really modified the design of this bait by putting some split rings on these hooks. But I just take a wire cutter and I chop the hooks on the bait completely off, just like that. And I take some VMC split rings. These ones are about 27-pound test strength. And I think these are size 4s. Yeah, they're size 4. Take the split ring pliers. I also use Gamakatsu size 4 hooks or mustad, which I'll show you in a second right here. I use a lot smaller hooks than the ones that come on these baits too. I mean, size 4 is plenty big. You just got to be careful doing this. I like to put this split ring on with the treble hook, so it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. There we go. And now you got a split ring on there with a nice Gamakatsu treble hook. You got to do the same thing to the back. Another tip I'm going to show you now is with this spinnerbait. I like to add a size 2-aught stinger hook. These are Daiichi's. Gamakatsu works good. Mustad, a bunch of companies made stinger hooks. But there's two things you can do. These baits come with these little red tubing holders that you slip over the hook, or you can use fish tank air hose tubing, which is super strong. But what you do, you slip the red little tube right over the eye of the hook, just like so. Then you take your spinnerbait and you push right through it. It's a little hard sometimes because that tubing is really tough, but be careful doing this. It's very easy to hook yourselves. You got yourself a little stinger hook, so when that fish comes up behind the bait, you got 2 hooks on that bait instead of just 1. And at night sometimes, you don't have to do this, but you can take like a 4-inch Mr. Twister or a swim bait of your choice. I like to bite half of it off. And you can thread that on there for more action, more wiggle, bulk. And some nights that really does make a big difference. It's a nice looking bait. Comes through the water nice and straight. You can see how that would look and wiggle. But usually I save the twister tail for if I'm not getting a lot of bites without it. No use in wasting a plastic bait if you don't have to, but some nights that twister tail has made a big difference. Those are 2 modifications that I highly suggest you do to any of these jitterbug lures, or even if you use like the classic popper lure made by the same company. Arbogast, I forgot the name of it, sorry. Arbogast company, they make the hula popper, the jitterbug, a bunch of baits, and all those classic topwater baits, a lot of those companies need to change those hook mechanisms because, or those hook holders, because it just doesn't make sense to me to have them like that anymore when we all know it's a flawed design. Hope you guys found some information useful in this video. Like and subscribe to my page. Get out there at night and try some bass fishing, and I promise you'll catch some big fish, sometimes a lot of fish, sometimes a lot more fish than you would during the daytime, especially if you're dealing with clear water, clear shallow water at night. Bass are lurking down there, walleyes, pike, muskies. You never know what you're gonna catch at night. Good luck fishing and take care.